Okay, let's talk about what josh-mandel has tried to say recently, because there's this weird habit of politicians of saying that X thing is unconstitutional and then, like, failing to substantiate it. Before we get into it, let's go ahead and get to the fan art section, and then we'll talk about josh-mandel himself, because we got a little bit to get into, all things considered. First one from Mr. Mago Incognito Mode, that they drew a classic style Suris, and it is at this moment that I realize that I've apparently been doing YouTube long enough to have a classic style. If all things considered, if somebody started watching me when they were 12, they probably are 16 now. Now, why a 12-year-old is interested in, atheistic political content, I don't know, but that's a weird thought to me. That's a very weird thought to me. The fact that there are people who have maybe been watching for 4 years. I know that when I was a kid and I was watching, movies or anything, and styles would evolve, it was always this, like, massive thing for me. So, being on the other side of that makes me feel real strange. I don't know how to feel about that. That said, moving on to the next one from KTH, or Kth. Said it's a work in progress. They had a bad week, but they decided to make a made Neko Suris here. And in a later video, we will show the completed and even animated version of this. But with all that said, as always, everyone, thank you very much for your fan art submissions. If you want to submit your fan art into any particular episode, then please throw it into the Discord's fan art section, and it will be shown up generally in chronological order. Before we get into the topic at hand, though, I do want to say, if you haven't subscribed already, or hit the bell notification icon, please, please, please do so. A lot of that stuff helps algorithmically, especially if you're there when episodes first air. Generally speaking, episodes air between... They air at 11 a.m. almost every day, and at 6 a.m. or 6 p.m. almost every day. I try to have 2 uploads up every day-ish, as best I can manage. But yeah, if you haven't subscribed already, or followed over on Twitch, maybe consider doing those things. Would be really great of you. So now let's go ahead and talk about josh-mandel. He's an American politician. He's was the 48th treasurer of Ohio from 2011 to 2019. He's a member of the Republican Party. He previously was the Ohio State Representative for the 17th District from 2007 to 2011. Also, Alpaca Scent. Thank you very much for resubscribing. Greatly appreciate that. He was the unsuccessful challenger to Democratic incumbent Sherrod Brown in 2012. And in 2016, he announced his intention to challenge Brown again, and then withdrew from the race. On what other ways can I poison the well on this guy? He also opposes same-sex marriage. He said in 2012 that he will protect the sanctity of marriage, and that it is a fight that he will never, ever back down from. He's against gay people serving in the military, and he voted against workplace and housing discrimination protections for gay and transgender people in 2009. So this dude is a bit of a piece of work, right? What Windchanter, thank you very much for redeeming your points for... Oh well. He's a bit of a piece of work. He's, not the greatest. I poisoned this well so that we have ample context of what type of individual, politician we are dealing with when we watch this particular video. Okay? Hopefully, you guys are ready for this. So, let's go ahead. No. Come on. Come on, josh-mandel. Let's go! Give me that cringe.
Post office is a disaster. They need to be privatized and eliminated altogether. They've grown every year. The government gives them billions of dollars to continue losing money. Enough's enough.
All right. So, for those who were having issues hearing, because the audio quality on the video is poor, it feels like it was taken from a 2005 cell phone. You know, the like pre-BlackBerry things. Okay? So, the quality's not great, but what he's saying is the post office needs to be eliminated. The thing needs to be destroyed. And it needs to be entirely privatized. Says that the government gives them billions of dollars, and they lose tons of money every single year. First of all, they're not a for-profit organization. Their goal is not to make fuck tons of money. Like, they are literally a service for the United States to run. Like, that's what they are. It is a thing that exists that you, as a citizen of the United States, have the benefit of utilizing, and it should stay there because think about the amount of money it takes you to send a package. Generally speaking, in most cases, the United States Postal Service will be able to send that package cheaper than any way that you could send it elsewise. Now, if everybody had to use privatized methods, like, say, UPS, FedEx, for sending all their stuff, that can get rather expensive. Now, you take that on a global scale. If you privatize the United States Postal Service, or just, flat out eliminate it, then all you're doing is making it to where people are forced to use those private businesses instead of utilizing the social function that the country already has, right? Okay? To argue that they're losing money, it first has to be predicated on the idea that their goal was to be making money in the first place, to be a for-profit business in the first place. Let me go ahead and be perfectly frank. If everything in the entire world operated on a for-profit basis, everything, then it would be impossible, logistically, for infrastructure to function long-term. Because when everything requires profit, eventually it creates a bubble where people are no longer able to afford the thing that you need. Because when all companies, when all aspects of life are for profit, that directly affects people's wages. That directly affects the price of goods. And when the price of goods has to keep going up, but the wages for individual people have to keep maintaining or going down proportionate to the inflation of other goods, then eventually people stop being able to afford things. People stop being able to afford your privatized postal service. People stop being able to afford things like driving their car because road maintenance is now a privatized thing in these weird fantasy lands that Republicans seem to go for. Having certain things be for profit, I understand I've got some more left-leaning people in my audience. Having some things being for profit is not the worst thing in the world, as long as the things that matter, infrastructure, education, healthcare, defense, as long as these things are not privatized, and we can make sure that other things that are necessities, like housing, are also taken away, primarily, at least for most people, from the private sector and moved into something more collectively owned. That is something that we should be going for. Simply arguing that, it should all be free, or arguing that, it should all be privatized. Both of those are fantasies that have bubbles that burst. You have to have a middle ground between the two. And give me just a second. So I do not want to eliminate UPS or FedEx and their existence, because there are utilizations of them. But elimination of the post office does nothing but fuck the poor. It literally does nothing but fuck the poor. That's all it does. Now, is that consistent with what a lot of Republicans end up doing in the United States a lot? Just arguing points that just fuck the poor? Yeah, probably. Let's continue.
We need competent people delivering our mail, so we don't have to wait for our neighbor to bring our mail over to us.
So, if you think that it is a matter of incompetency and not a matter of, say, workload, that causes the mail to be delivered to the wrong person, then you are incredibly delusional. Secondly, to argue that, hey, we need competent people, so we need to privatize things. There's nothing about privatizing an industry that raises the level of competency within that industry. And also, just to throw out there, I'm sure everyone here has had their mail delivered to the wrong person by a private company before. I have had FedEx throw my mail to the wrong person. I have had UPS throw my mail to the wrong person. And I've had Amazon packages get delivered to very wrong places. At the end of the day, privatization does not solve that. Having more workers available to do the job can solve that. And privatizing that industry is not going to suddenly create more workers for that industry specifically. Because I'm just going to go ahead and throw this out there right now. Anybody who has worked in, say, retail or management or a majority of places that are privatized, they tend to cut staff as often as possible. Because, again, the motive is profit. When the motive is profit, you are going to do things to cut your overhead, to cut your expenditures where you can. And that will end up meaning, in many cases, even fewer people working, if they find the ability to, if there's some way to manage that. But let's continue.
Listen, it is one of the agencies, I agree, that's completely incompetent and could never stand up in the private sector. But there's a bigger issue here, and this is what I'm going to do when I get to Washington.
When dude's failed repeatedly for the past decade to get the seat that he's been going for. But, you know, when you get to Washington, let's go.
I'm going to post on the wall of my office the United States Constitution.
You will you? Okay, and what will that do for you?
And right next to it, I'm going to post an organizational chart of the federal government. And for every agency, sub-agency, bureau, department, all these departments we've never even heard of in the bowels of the federal government, I'm going to work with people like Rand Paul and
Rand.
Thomas Massey and Jim Jordan and others to try to eliminate all these departments that are never called for in the Constitution. Because what happens is politicians, Democrat and Republican, over time, and it happens in state government, happens everywhere, they create these departments and agencies. And then the bureaucrats, the deep state in there, they keep growing them because they got to justify their existence.
So remember, this was an answer to will he eliminate the post office? Will he do what he can to eliminate the post office? So this constitutional elimination of various sectors of the government, this is in response to a question about your post office. Now, we've heard deep state conspiracy thrown at us here, which I'm just going to go ahead and say right now, are there probably shadowy hands in multiple governments that do more of the decision-making and heavy lifting than we see? Oh, absolutely. It would be naive to say not. But when you hear specifically the words deep state, that is not just referring to the fact that there might be a couple of hands who we don't know about working within our government. When you say the deep state, that is almost a thought-terminating cliche. As soon as you hear that, if you're a QAnoner, that means people sucking the blood out of children. If you are farther down the JQ conspiracy line, then it just means Jewish people. Or if you're in the Alex Jones camp, that means the globalists. If you're an idiot, it means the aliens. The statement, there are probably shadowy figures in a government somewhere doing something, is so far divorced in our social zeitgeist now from the word, the deep state, that I no longer, when I hear that, I no longer think, oh yeah, there might be some people who are doing some shady things. No, when I hear that now, my brain immediately goes, can you please stop talking about the Jews, my friend? Please? Can we be done with that? Can we be done talking about the lizard people, David Ick? Can we be done with all of this shit? Can we be done talking about draining the swamp? The conspiratorial head of this thing is so agitating to deal with, and it's like a hydra. Even if you cut it off, there's 2 more that grow in its place. But let's finish the video, and then I have a thing I want to show you.
And perpetuate their funding. And we need warriors going to Washington to cut their funding and eliminate them whole hog.
Warriors going to Washington to cut their funding. I'm just going to say that could mean one of 2 things to me. Either A, you see yourself as some kind of a warrior, in which case that is the most hilarious LARP of all time. Or scenario B, I would like to direct you to January 6th, and that we don't need any more January 6s. Okay? We don't need more warriors storming Washington, my friend. We do not need Al-Qaeda, the Tal Yal band, coming down there. We don't need any of that anymore. We don't. No warriors coming out to play, please. But I want to redirect. Remember, this was in response to elimination of the post office, which he did not say that he would not do, and he would be posting the Constitution up on his door, and he would be trying to eliminate these various sectors, which he did not say not the post office. And I keep on bringing that up because if we were to conveniently look at Section 8 of the United States Constitution, let's go ahead and see here what powers of Congress there are. The Congress shall have the power to lay and collect taxes. So people who say that taxes are unconstitutional, sorry, y'all are wrong. Imposts and excises to pay debts and provide for the common defense and general welfare of the United States. Oh boy, that's a trigger word for a lot of Republicans. Welfare. All duties, imposts, and excises shall be uniform throughout the United States. To borrow money on the credit of the United States. To regulate commerce with foreign nations. So all of you people who are ridiculously isolationist when it comes to the United States, that's unconstitutional. Congratulations. To establish a uniform rule of naturalization and uniform laws on the subject of bankruptcies throughout the U.S., to coin money, regulate and value thereof and of foreign coin, to provide the punishment of counterfeiting the securities and the current coin of the U.S., and then finally, this one little bit, this tiny bit, REXD, thank you very much for redeeming your points for an you fucking decrepit individual. Let's just, for a brief moment, focus on this one antsy-beansy little highlighted part right here. To what does this read? Anybody in chat? Does anybody in chat maybe want to read this one little part right here? To establish post offices and post roads. Okay. Interesting. So, person comes up, can we eliminate post office? You respond, there's many government agencies that I want to eliminate. You do not stick up for the post office in any way, shape, or form. You say you're going to put the Constitution up on your door and fight anything that is unconstitutional, and then we just look right here for half a second. Apparently, part of the Constitution says to establish post offices and post roads. Huh. That's real weird. Also, MCGM 544. I have to... Okay, so you know that in the Constitution here, it does say that taxes can be procured for the common defense. You understand that, right? This means that everybody who's been doing their Twitch subscriptions And everybody who's been doing their Patreon donations, all of you have been providing for the common defense in the Owo War because this motherfucker decided to drop 50,000 channel points in favor of the Uwu Empire. You absolute genocidal motherfucker. No. But you submitted the 50,000 points, so I can't not. MCGM544, thank you very much for redeeming your 50,000 channel points. You crazy ass bitch. For your Uwu. I need your coordinates for totally not nuclear missile related reasons. 110%. I need those things. Quick, can somebody help me with mathematics on the yield of particular types of depleted uranium? I could really use that math to make sure there's not some collateral damage in this war. It's not like I wanted to uwu or anything. Baka. Anyways. So yeah, just for anybody who wants to bitch about the post office is constitutional. It's right there. It's right there. So, but what do you guys think? Are you gonna be voting in Josh-Mandel? Is this a thing that we're gonna be doing? Oi, oi, oi. If you enjoyed this, let me know in the comment section below. If you would like to support my channel and what I do, there's ways to do so in the description below. If you want to be a member of my Patreon, that gives you access to basically channel vlogs. About 4 times a month, I do a vlog on there, letting you guys know what's going on in my real life, letting you guys know what's going on with the channel, plans going forward. Though the last few Patreon posts have been really depressing because of the in-and-out hospital stuff, but if real life shit is stuff that you care about, then Patreon's the place to go for stuff like that. With all that said, as always, everyone, insert end of video tagline here.